Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Road Accident Fund podcast. On today's episode, we are shining a light on Fraud Awareness Week, observed globally from 16 to 22 November. The Road Accident Fund plays a vital role in compensating and rehabilitating victims of motor vehicle accidents, working closely with claimants, law firms, and healthcare professionals. But with this important work comes a serious challenge: fraudulent activities that undermine the fund's mission and impact the lives of genuine victims. In recent months, we've witnessed an alarming increase in fraud related cases involving false claims, unethical practices, and even legal professionals facing disbarment and prosecution. That's why this year, the RAF is joining the global fight against fraud under the theme Be a Fraud Fighter. And it begins with you, your action, your future. In this episode, we'll explore how fraud affects not just the fund, but claimants as well, and what we can all do to promote honesty, accountability, and ethical behavior. Today's guest is Sherwin Kemuti, Manager in the Forensic and Investigation Department in the Johannesburg Regional Office. Hi, Sherwin.
Good day.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
It is great to have you here, and I'm really excited to talk about this issue because it's such a pertinent issue that affects the funds and also our claimants. So it's great to have you on here.
Thank you.
So before we get into, the crux of why we're here and Fraud Awareness Week, Fraud Awareness Month, I just want to learn a bit more about you and your role. Please tell me, how long have you been at the fund and what exactly do you do?
I've been at the fund for 17 years. I'm the forensic manager, as you said, in the Johannesburg region of the Road Accident Fund. We basically combat, investigate fraud. I'm actually an ex-policeman. I had interaction with the Road Accident Fund while I investigated some of the cases. They were actually a stakeholder of mine. And I like the professionalism that I saw.
Okay.
That made me come over to the Road Accident Fund, or let me say apply for a position here. And then there's a lot of opportunities within the fund to grow. And it is a very good employer.
What would your typical day be like at work?
Typical day would be I lead a team of forensic investigators. I have a caseload that I have to manage, allocate resources to that caseload. And then I also have to interact with stakeholders, whether they be internal or external stakeholders. That includes the NPA, SEPS, etc. And then now and then I step into the investigation role to investigate cases. And I also testify in trials, whether it be departmental, criminal, or civil. That's basically my day.
So you go to court?
Yes, I attend court matters.
Okay. It's a very serious duty, and I think with your police background, it's actually quite fitting for you to be in this role. So tell me a bit about the FID department at the Road Accident Fund. What exactly is the role of FID at the Road Accident Fund?
We see ourselves as the guardians of the RAF's money, to put it in layman's terms. We combat fraud. We investigate the fraud, and then we also make sure that the perpetrators come to book by reporting the matters to the SAPS, also reporting, I would say, truant legal professionals to the Legal Practice Council, where there's involvement of medical professionals, where we feel they have transgressed, we report them to the Health Professionals Council of South Africa. That is basically what we do in a nutshell.
Why do you think it's important to have such a unit, especially at an organization like the Road Accident Fund?
I would think that whenever you work with public money, public purse, there should be some sort of guardians, compliance, governance when it comes to public money to ensure that the money is spent for the intention that it was meant for, and also to ensure that once again when people transgress that they are brought to book. If people get heavy sentences in court, I think it would be a deterrent for possible future fraudsters to stay away from it, because they will know that there's repercussions for their
there's
actions.
consequences for those actions.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about International Fraud Awareness Week. Can you enlighten us about Fraud Awareness Week and actually what it is about?
Fraud awareness, or let me say fraud and corruption, is a worldwide problem. Fraud Awareness Week usually happens in November, but it is an event where light is shed on the impact of fraud, also to allow people to understand what fraud is.
Yes.
And how they can combat it in their personal spaces, because not all of us are policemen. You can work in finance, you can be a neighbor who witnessed something. It basically allows or informs you of channels that you can report fraud and corruption on. That's what Fraud Awareness Week is all about.
And we support International Fraud Awareness Week as the fund.
Yes, the Road Accident Fund is actually supporting it. There's active campaigns from the Road Accident Fund supporting it. And it's to bring awareness, for specifically in our case, to the claimants.
Yes.
Because they are our customer. Without the claimant, there's no purpose for the Road Accident Fund, because we are here to compensate them for whatever injuries they might have suffered, whether it be personal injury or even a financial knock that they might have taken because they cannot perform their duties anymore.
Yes.
So we are here to inform them of ways that they can report whenever there's fraud, and also for them to be aware of the latest fraud schemes so that they don't fall victim to fraud. Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of campaigns, the Road Accident Fund has its own theme for this year's Fraud Awareness Week. So it's Be a Fraud Fighter, Your Action, Your Future. Can you tell me a bit more about why FID chose these themes?
I cannot explain this without making an example.
Okay.
Simplest example for the man in the street is that we have plus minus 200,000 policemen. We have about 50 million people in this country. 200,000 people cannot keep 50 million people safe. Each one of them have to play a role.
Yeah.
Same with the Road Accident Fund. It is our duty to inform the public, but it's also the public's duty to inform us if they are aware of any fraud schemes against the Road Accident Fund. Because it's not like there's an unlimited supply of funds. There's only so much we can do. So if we knowingly allow fraud and look the other way, it will affect us personally one day, because you might have a family member that's in an accident. You might be in an accident, and you would not want a situation where there's no funds to pay you.
Yes.
It is your funds. And to elaborate further, for every liter of petrol, I think the approximate amount now, is about 4 rands per liter that goes to the Road Accident Fund.
Yes.
That's a lot of money. If you pour in 10 liters, it's 40 rand out of your pocket that goes to the Road Accident Fund. So you have to take ownership of what happens to the funds or the money, I should say, of the Road Accident Fund. The ball is in all of our court. We all are playing a role in this. It is our institutions, and in this case, it is our Road Accident Fund. We have to look after it. And if each person makes an effort, the whole collective effort will make a difference.
When you receive these reports, how do you then start the process? How do you deal with that?
When we receive an allegation, we begin with a preliminary investigation. Okay. The reason we start with the preliminary investigation is to see whether there's substance to the allegation. We, of course, browse through our systems, look at our registers to see if the information corresponds with what we might have on record.
Okay.
If it then goes over that the things check out, we go over to a full-blown investigation. Once we have detected fraud or irregularity, the fraud gets reported to the SAPS. If it's on behalf of a claimant or done by a claimant or a tout, which is the people who runs around collecting people to say that they were in accidents, those are the people who report to the SAPS. When the attorney has transgressed the law, we also, of course, report the attorney to the SAPS. But where the attorney has acted in an unethical manner, we report it to the Legal Practice Council. That is basically what we do as a forensic investigation department. And then also we have other stakeholders like the SIU, and there's also this institution called the Asset Forfeiture Unit, which is, as long as I can remember, attached to the NPA. Okay. They will also go after people's assets to get the money back. So it's not a matter of us just going after you criminally. We will also get the money back from you at the end of the day.
So if a claimant has been defrauded and they provide the necessary information and the case or investigation has proven that this person has indeed committed fraud against the claimant, and is the claimant entitled to get that money back?
Unfortunately, not again from the Road Accident Fund, because if the claimant gets a representative in the form of an attorney, where's the RAF pay the attorney? Because that attorney now has the mandate to represent that specific claimant. If the attorney is to perhaps withhold the claimant's money, which happens a lot nowadays, or not give the full portion of the money that should be going to the claimant has recourse. The claimant can go to the Legal Practice Council to register a complaint. The claimant can also go to the South African Police Service to lodge or to register a case of theft by the attorney. And then we as the RAF, we feature in that we provide the LPC and the South African Police Service with information on the payment of the claim and the breakdown of such a payment.
What are some of the, the new tactics that you've seen fraudsters employ in recent times?
Well, the runners or touts, as they are referred to, are actively campaigning at the hospitals.
Yes.
You will, for instance, have someone that fell out of a tree or off a ladder. And as they are brought in with a gurney from the ambulance services, you'll have a tout walking next to them to say, listen, don't say you fell. Say you were in a motor vehicle accident. You get people who were assaulted, who come in with the ambulance, same people, touts run to them, say, listen, don't say you were assaulted, say that you were in a motor vehicle accident. So those are the type of frauds that we deal with. And then you get your loss of support frauds.
Yes.
For instance, someone claiming for a child who is not a child of the deceased. So that specific minor was never dependent on the person who passed away. And then, there's a few others. There's also exaggeration of people's income, whereby people claim for loss of income to say they earn, for instance, 10,000 rands a month, whereas they only earn 2,000 rands a month. So those are for the most part the type of frauds that we're dealing with.
Okay. And then how do you you spoke a little bit about screening these cases. How exactly do you go about it to see if a person has a a valid complaint?
Yes. When we receive the complaint, we browse through it. We compare to the information on our system, and then if we see, for instance, there is such a claim, then we start to do comparisons. For instance, date of accident, place of accident, etc., etc. If we feel that certain things do check out, we then request the full file, so that we can investigate. Obviously, when we do comparisons, we have to go to the custodians of that information, which includes the hospitals for the medical records, the police for the accident records, and sometimes other stakeholders too, like their workplaces, etc., etc. So it kind of varies. You never know what you're gonna get next.
Yes.
Yeah, you only discover it on the journey of doing the investigation. And I always say, in my experience, no two cases are alike. You always start afresh. Yes, you have the experience, but you never have a preconceived idea over what you're going to discover, because that's going to influence your objectivity. So it's something new every day, and you learn as you go along.
Do you find yourself, because you said it can influence your objectivity, getting emotionally involved in some of these cases?
Yeah, when you go, for instance, to places where the breadwinner was in an accident and there's no income in that family for a while, you can see it in the household. You can see the children is not getting food or enough food. They're not getting the shelter that they deserve. They do not get school clothes, etc., etc. You can basically see a decline in the standard of living, and that is why I must have mentioned or should have mentioned this earlier, that part of forensics is also to ensure that we try and make the process more efficient.
Yes.
Because when we investigate a claim, we finalize certain milestones in the claim, like the merits,
Yes.
etc., so that the claim can also be settled sooner. Because we want that person who is a legitimate claimant, we want that claim to be settled as soon as
Yes.
possible. So our main duty is actually to support core business, which is the claims handling process.
Yes.
Yeah.
How long would you say these investigations normally take you before, you get to the verdict and you get to the end process?
In an ideal world, I'm saying ideal because sometimes we wait for external stakeholders. Like, I would love to get hospital records within a week,
Yeah.
but I don't get it within a week.
Within
I
a
would love
week.
to get the police's records within a week, but I don't get it within a week. So there is sometimes a delay, but in an ideal world, we would want to finalize an investigation within 2 months. I think that is just fair to everyone. But like I said, there's external factors which contributes to it taking a bit longer.
How important do you think creating awareness about fraud is?
Without sounding like a politician, education is key. You need to educate yourself. Everybody in South Africa has smartphones. Google Fraud Awareness Week. Google the Road Accident Fund. Google, for instance, numbers you can contact if you have questions about road accident fund claims. Google numbers you can dial when you want to report anonymously information that you might have on a fraudulent claim. You need to arm yourself because I don't mean to sound like a downer, but you cannot just trust people at face value. You cannot even trust professionals anymore. I'm not going to mention which professions. I'm just going to say you cannot trust them anymore.
Yeah.
Even me, if I go to my doctor, I ask questions. And instead of them giving me medication that's 500 Rand and I can get the same medication for 30 Rand at the shop, I ask questions so that I can educate myself. Everyone must try and do that because nobody's, I don't want to sound like the street, but nobody's coming for you. No one's coming for you. You need to educate yourself and stop just placing your trust in everyone else.
Sherwin, let's talk and unpack this theme a bit more because it encourages everybody, to be a fraud fighter. And I want to understand why, the FID department for the RAF chose this particular theme for this year's campaign.
I think we've realized that we need the public to give us more information. And we also need to educate the public on how to identify fraud schemes. So we are hoping that this fraud awareness will go far and wide in this country, and it will have more people to be aware of what's going on around them. There might have been people in the community who witnessed fraud, who knows of fraud, but they didn't know how to report it. So this is just to create awareness for them to know where they can go to, who they can contact, what numbers they can dial, or what email address they can send an email to if they have information. And I'm gonna sound old school here, but when you report information, give us the full details.
Okay.
Tell us where it happened, when it happened, who was involved, what specifically happened, and of course how. That allows us to go and look in the right place for it. It just makes our work easier for us. So this fraud awareness week is to include all of that. Not just give them the contact details, but also for them to understand that we need their buy-in, we need their assistance if we are going to fight this uphill battle.
Yeah, because it's everyone's responsibility.
Yeah,
as much as we take it upon ourselves as the fund, to spearhead that, when fraud happens against the fund, but we need everybody's help in actually dealing with this issue.
That is correct.
So then, for people that want to report fraud and they want to be whistleblowers, but they are afraid of victimization, how can you protect those people, and how can they report fraud?
In our legislation, we have a Protected Disclosures Act, but that is an act. It's not a person. It's not a bodyguard.
Okay.
So, in my experience, and all might not agree with me, but I prefer people reporting things anonymously. If you phone our hotline, 0800 11 12 24, and you report it anonymously, they give you a reference number.
Okay.
And you can use that reference number to check up on the information that you reported. And even if you have more information that you've gained, you can phone in again anonymously to keep yourself protected. And you can then give more information to help the investigation. I prefer people to remain anonymous. I think it's just safer for them because we have this Protected Disclosures Act, but we've seen whistleblowers, what happens to them in this country. So I'm a forerunner. I always say report things anonymously, and you can follow up anonymously, and you can give more information anonymously. And you will feel safer, which means you will even give us more information because you'll know that you are protected. No one will know your name. And I've tested this. For my own peace of mind, I've actually phoned and tried to find out from them a cell number that they might have, a name of someone who reported something anonymously, anything to trace. I'm telling you, there's nothing I can get out of them. They're not giving me the littlest of information.
So it's safe.
I have confidence.
You have full confidence
I have full
that those
confidence.
people's identities are going to be
Will be protected.
Only
Only they will know who they are.
Okay. That's so good to know, because I feel like a lot of people out there witness things that are wrong and they are afraid to speak up because, as you said, we've seen what happens to people who are whistleblowers. So we are assuring you as the public to say that your identity will be protected, and we encourage you to come to the Road Accident Fund and report the fraud that you've seen. So, Sherwin, can you please just tell me a little bit about how you deal with fraud internally within the RAF?
If the fraud involves an internal, or I should say an employee, and it's reported, of course, to the Forensic Investigation Department, the investigation is done in a very classified manner. We have an internal investigation unit that these allegations get referred to, and they work basically in the same way that we work. They do a preliminary investigation. If they see there's credence, there's truth to the allegations, they obviously go further. And we have internal disciplinary procedures whereby, depending on the severity of the matter, where people get suspended until such a time when the departmental cases, or I should say that the disciplinary matters, are finalized. And then, depending on the outcome, they will either be, the contract will be terminated, or if at the end of the day they are innocent, they get reinstated. So that's basically our systems that we have within. And then I also want to implore our employees to make use of the same channels to report irregularities, to report fraud. And
within the fund.
In the Road Accident Fund, they can use the same hotline, or they can approach the manager in the region. There is also an option for them if they feel that they don't want to report it anonymously. We also have an open door policy for people who want to come and report irregularities or fraud in the Road Accident Fund.
So earlier on, you told me that, sometimes these cases do touch on your emotions a little bit. So I wanted to find out, based on your investigations, what impact does fraud have on, claimants and their families?
Because we have so many claims that we find that we have to repudiate at the end of the day. Technically, it was a waste of our time. It took resources, it took manpower, it took hours, our time, in other words, time we could have spent on legitimate claims to ensure that victims' claims get settled sooner. Now we have to have all these processes and systems that we have in place to try and prevent and detect the fraud, because you can no longer just work on good faith.
Yeah.
Just because something comes from a professional's office doesn't mean it checks out. You have to now check each and every detail of that claim, and that all takes time. Like I said earlier, in an ideal world, we would have wanted to settle claims much sooner.
Yes.
But we unfortunately have to deal with all these claims who doesn't comply, claims that they have to be repudiated, claims that are irregular, claims that are fraudulent. So all of this fraud and corruption has an impact on the claimant, because the claims take longer
Yes.
to get settled. Legitimate claimants who really need the money, people who lost their job, who cannot work anymore, cannot provide for their families anymore, and they have no other means of income. And we are cognizant of that. We are aware of that. And personally, it does eat away at you,
Yeah.
because you want people or legitimate claimants to get their money sooner. So that is the impact that it has. And then also, if we might have settled a fraudulent claim, it's money that should have been going to a legitimate claim.
Yes.
As I said earlier, this is not like a tap you open and the money just runs out. There's an end to this money, so it has to be managed according to the Public Finance Management Act. And we need to stop this fraud and corruption, because it really does affect all of us. I don't think I need to elaborate anymore, because, it affects all of us.
Do you perhaps have any advice for claimants, for them to just be aware of? Like if the person, like if a tout, we were talking about touts earlier coming to a person in the hospital. Are there any other warning signs that you can give for claimants to be aware of, so that it doesn't happen to them without them,
For the claimant, the legitimate claimant who's represented, I would say make sure of the amount of money that the RAF paid. Also make sure, be cognizant of how much money the attorney is entitled to. Because some of the attorneys ask exorbitant amount of money. And I'm not attacking anyone, and I hope no one takes this personal. But I don't see claimants with beach houses. But I see attorneys with beach houses. So I think the claimant should be the beneficiary of a claim. It shouldn't be third parties. And even if there's third parties who assist the claims, and you do get very good attorneys out there who care about their profession, who care about their work, even in their cases, if they represent the claimant and the claimant gets the settlement, they should be taking what is fair. And the claimant should follow up and ask for a bill. Ask for a bill. If the attorney says 250,000 rand, I'm going to take a 250,000 rand out of your million rand, tell the attorney to give you a bill.
Yeah.
Take that bill, check it out. If you're not certain of the bill, approach the Legal Practice Council. They are there to assist. And ask them, does this bill look right to you? Does it look proper to you? Can a person who represented me and gave me 10 phone calls and the matter didn't even go on trial, and the claim gets settled, take a 250,000 rand. Is that feasible? Is that fair? So they should educate themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's everybody's responsibility. Let's all be fraud fighters.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Chauvin. I think that today's episode was really enlightening, and I'm hoping that people can see the different channels through which that they can report fraud, and how much of an important issue it is for us to highlight, especially during International Fraud Awareness Week, and to just showcase the fact that as the RAF, we do take this matter seriously, and we do have dedicated employees such as yourself that are really working hard to make sure that, we stop fraud at the end of the day. We stop fraud. People shouldn't feel comfortable committing fraud, and we take this battle, one incident at a time, and, we empower our claimants as well. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
As we wrap up this episode, remember that fighting fraud is a collective responsibility. Each one of us, Whether a member of the public, a stakeholder, or an employee plays a vital role in protecting the integrity of the Road Accident Fund. Once again, if you ever suspect fraudulent or unethical activity, you can report it anonymously and confidentially. Call 0800 11 12 24 or email rafethics@thehotline.co.za. Your action today helped safeguard the fund's resources for those who truly need them, the victims of accidents. Together, let's stand united as fraud fighters. It begins with you. Your action shapes our future. Thank you for watching.